Hello everyone, and welcome to this webinar on NCVER end of the year reporting. For people who attended my funded end of the year reporting last December, you would know most of these, or how to check the courses, the units, how to check the learners, the course enrollments and everything. But today I really want to concentrate on just showing you how you can update the learner profiles, especially the demographic details, the outcome codes, the dates, the start and end dates for the courses, for your qualification issue date, the unit dates, and of course, how to finalize your learners, and also run some data integrity reports in terms of finding any missing or blank fields. Towards the end, we will also be looking at how to run exports, and I know that most of you may have already started submitting your data to NCVER and validating your data. So I might even take you through our article on validation errors, so you will know how to find the errors, how to fix it, and of course how to log a ticket to us so you can ask us your questions later on. All right, quickly going into BioSnip. All right, I've just logged into our demo system here. So to start with, most of the errors are going to be around the NAT 80, 85, 120, and 130. All right. The 80 stands for the client file. So it has everything to do with the students' personal details, of course, their address information, some of the demographic details, and the 85 is completely for the postal address. 120 is for the enrollment details, and the 130 is for the qualification. So most of your errors are around these four files. You certainly may have errors to do with the 60 and the 30 file, which is your units and courses, but they're not very common. The most common are your clients and the enrollment files, because it has variable data. Every student is different, every enrollment is different. So obviously you're going to have different fields, different data against these records. So just be mindful that you can't leave any of these fields that I'm showing blank. They have to be filled in. So if you go in, look for a learner. I'm just going to pick up a random learner here. Under the personal details, always remember to have a title, a first name, last name, the date of birth, gender, that's mandatory. The USI, this is a demo system, so we don't add the USIs in here, but ensure that there's a USI for that student. If you're in Victoria, then if the student is between 18 to 24 age, then you need to even have a VSN number. Of course, the telephone, mobile, and email addresses. This doesn't give you a validation error, but it's good to have that information. But the address is mandatory. You definitely need to have street address, postal, and of course the permanent address. This is what gets reported in the NAT 80. So when you edit any of these fields, let's go action and edit personal. So when you edit any of the fields under the street, if it's the same as the permanent, always copy it. Don't forget to copy the address. And the postal is mandatory for your 85. And if the student does not have a postal address, if it's the same, then you just have to copy as above. Now, sometimes there's a lot of typo, when you have to complete the street number, unit number. Sometimes you may put in a unit number, but not a street number, and things like that. But it picks it up as a validation error to say that these fields are empty. So you have to come back and update these fields appropriately. Now, going on to the demographic bit, ensure every field on this page is completed. The labor force status, the schooling, prior education, language disability, the indigenous status, and of course the gender and date of birth would be completed from the personal details. So all this is important. Now, some of the fields have Victoria in bracket. That's mandatory for state funding purposes. If you do have the information, feel free to put it in, but it's not mandatory for fee-for-service NCVER reporting. All right. So all these details are covered in the NAT 80 and the 85. So if you're getting any errors saying the prior education flag is missing, or sometimes, you have the flag as set to yes, but you don't have the achievement put in. So it's going to give you an error saying the achievement is required when the prior education flag is set to yes. So that's kind of a validation error that you get. So in that case, just remember that you've set it to yes, but you've not put in an achievement. So you need to come back into that record, edit the demographic detail, and add the prior education. So it's pretty straightforward when you see the error to recognize which field is missing and what data needs to be updated. We will be going in detail when we export your files and look at the validation errors that you get. Now, the next bit of information is your NAT 120, and that's the biggest file, and that contains all the students' enrollments, the unit enrollments, the results, the dates, and everything, you know. So when you go into the enrollment record, ensure you have the start date and the end date, the study reason and the commencing course identifier. This can't be blank. And of course, you know, if you're funded, you're going to see more information, but for fee for service, that's all's required. So you need your start date, your end date. Sorry, I forgot the study mode. So you need the study mode, the study reason, the commencing course identifier. And then when you go into the unit enrollment, you need to have your start and end date for the units and a valid outcome. We recently made changes to the delivery mode to show the EVITMIS 8 delivery modes, but in the back end, you definitely have the EVITMIS 7 delivery modes. When you're reporting for NCVER, it'll automatically report the EVITMIS 7, not the 8. So it will report a 10 classroom based. The system has just started reflecting the EVITMIS 8 fields in here just to make it easier for clients who have started doing their 2018 reporting. Now, as I'm showing you, you know, what's mandatory, what are the outcomes, what are the start and end dates that are required and everything, I'll also show you how you can bulk update this, just in case, you know, you find missing information, how you can update, you know, all these fields in bulk. So when you go into a course offer, go into enrollments, pick and choose your students. If there are any units that are missing information, then you would be bulk updating the unit enrollments. So let's say, for example, they're missing a delivery mode. So you've got a validation error to say the delivery mode is blank. You will click on bulk update unit enrollments, pick and choose the units that are missing the delivery mode. Scroll down, find the field that you want to update. Remember, for NCVER, you're reporting the AV7 this year. You choose the delivery mode, go all the way down and apply changes. So this will automatically update all those students that you chose for the units that you chose automatically. So all the 8 students would have been updated successfully. Same way, let's say you have course enrollment values missing, like the commencing course identifier or the study reason. Of course, the study reason is going to be unique for every student, but the commencing identifier usually is the same. So you can complete that in bulk. So choose all, go into action, go bulk update course enrollments, scroll down, find the field that you want to update. Could be the study mode or commencing course identifier. Choose the appropriate value, go all the way down and perform cascade. This will apply that value to all the students in that course offer. Any questions? So I have a question on, we don't often get the full address. So instead of leaving it blank, is it okay to put not specified? Yes, correct. I don't know your name, but yeah, so you can put it as not specified. You just can't leave it blank. Thank you. I have a question where the student has enrolled for a certificate 4 after completing a certificate 3. What will the commencing course ID be? All right, the commencing course ID is only related to one course. If the student has done a Cert 3 before and a Cert 4 now, it'll still be a 3 because he's commencing the qualification, certificate 4 qualification new, so it will be a 3. Thank you. All right, now just going back into the conversation about the commencing course identifiers. Now, if a student has started the qualification in 2017 and they're continuing into 2018, before you do the end of the year reporting, you need to change all their commencing course identifiers from a 3 to a 4. To make it easier for you guys to complete this update, instead of you going into every course offer and updating it, what we've done is added it as a wizard under the learners. So if you go into learners, go into the enrollment update wizard, there's something called the commencing course identifier update. Choose the contract state. Let's say all your students are linked to Victoria Fee for Service. And if you want to update all your current students, if you have students who have completed their course in 17, let's say first week of Jan or the second week of Jan, you might have to choose both current and completed. But for now, I'm just going to go current. Let's go with all the students who started their course in 2017. So you could do a combination of things. You can either find people who don't have a commencing course identifier. So the first bit of update, you're doing it for students with an empty commencing course ID. So you can bulk update all these students to an appropriate one. Now I can see that these 3 course offers have students who have started and ended their course in 17 itself. So we don't have continuing students there. So again, the last one as well. So I can bulk update these to a 3. So they've commenced the enrollment and finished the enrollment in the same year. So it would be a number 3. But for this one group, I have students who started in 17 but continuing into 18. So then what will happen is I will be choosing a 4 to say that the students are continuing in the qualification of the course from a previous year. Hope that's making sense. So anybody who started last year but are continuing into this year and will be completing their qualification this year will have to be changed to a number 4. But it has to be in the same qualification. Doesn't matter if they're doing a Cert 3 in 17 and they've enrolled into a Cert 4 in 18, both the qualifications would be a number 3 because they started and finished Cert 3 in 17. They're starting the Cert 4 in 18. So both will be a 3. But if the Cert 3 was commenced in 17 and they're continuing into the same qual this year, then it would be a number 4. Then I can apply another set of criteria to say, all right, pick up anybody with the 3. And if I know that they're continuing into, if their end date's all in 18, then of course I can choose the offer and bulk update them to a number 4. Ranju, I've got your question here. What about if they're continuing to the next year and some of them are completing in 2019 or 2020? They will remain a 4. So you just have to change it once and you can just leave them to be a 4 until the end of the course. Thank you. Will you get a rejection if you don't update it from a 3 to a 4? Usually there is a validation error given, so you will be seeing a validation error. So it's not like a rejection, but it'll just kind of tell you that, these students are continuing into this year, so you need to change it to a 4. Alina, I understand your concern. So Alina here says that, you could have students that are withdrawn or are not being processed correctly. So she doesn't want to take it for granted and use the wizard. We do have a lot of reports which kind of help you check the commencing course IDs and things like that. So when I show you the data integrity reports, I'll show you even the commencing course ID report, so you can quickly go in and run a report instead of you running the wizard, just blindly. Thank you. All right, so the next bit of questions that have started coming is on the unit enrollment. So that's what I was going to go into. So with the unit enrollments for a student, as you know, previously we used to choose an outcome of 90, which was enrolled. And when the student continued into the next year, we kept the student as a 70, which is continuing enrollment. but the 90 was completely removed off the list in 2017, and we started using just the 70s. So for this year, it's very easy when you do your reporting. All those continuing students are obviously going to be given a 70 if they've not completed their unit, and they're continuing into 2018 to complete the unit. Just ensure, like when you go into the student's record, into unit enrollments, if there are units that are having an end date in 18, and if you know the student has not completed anything, then just give them an outcome of 70, which is continuing enrollment. If you don't give a valid outcome against the unit and leave it blank, the system will not pick up that unit in your export file. So please ensure that you update all your units with valid outcomes. Now, there could be a validation error given to you if you have not changed the end date. Let's say, for example, you've given a default start and end date like the way I've done for this demo record. So you have the first of the day, 31/7/2018 for the first unit, but the student may have deemed competent on, I don't know, the 15th of December, for example. I might just put it to a 20 without updating the end date. So for a fee-for-service student, it doesn't matter, you know, but when you do your reporting, it does matter because it's going to come back to you saying you're reporting today with the student as competent, but the end date has not even occurred, you know, so it's all in the future. So that gives you a validation error. So always remember, when you update the outcome, you have to update even the start and end dates of that unit. It has to reflect the actual start date and the end date of that unit. If you don't know the start date of that unit, because sometimes they're clustered units, or you could be running a course like childcare or aged care where, you know, there are placements and things like that and prerequisites for that unit. In that case, please at least ensure you're able to update the end date, because that's mandatory. It's going to give you a validation error. For a student who kind of completed in the last year, the validation software may not pick it up because obviously, you know, they've been deemed competent within that time period and you're reporting like now for students with end dates in December. So it may not pick it up. But if you get a scenario like this, then you have to then go back and change all these end dates. So instead of doing that, just ensure that you always give the right end date for the units. All right, do any of you have any questions in terms of the unit results or dates? Or have any of you done your validation so we can share some errors that you may have received? Okay, Cornelia has asked me a question. What about the outcome code 85? 85 has been introduced for 2018. So yeah, you can start using the 85 for the future units, you know, if required. But even if you haven't used it for your 2017 reporting, it doesn't matter. All right, Gaurav, you've asked me a question. Outcomes 51 and 90, is it mandatory to change the delivery mode? 90 is no longer used, so probably you meant 60. All right, so the 51 and 60 are RPO and credit outcomes. And yeah, so you will have to change the delivery mode, unfortunately, to a 90. Now, of course, you know, it's called something else, but for all your AVITMA 7 purposes, ensure that, you know, you're giving the student a 90, which is not applicable. So I'll just show you where to find that. So AV7, it would be a 90, not applicable. But yeah, that's a mandatory requirement. So if the student gets an outcome of 51, which is an RPL, or a 60, then the delivery mode needs to be a 90. All right, that's kind of what's required for, like, you know, your NCVER reporting. These are the main things that, you know, gives you errors, mostly the dates and the demographic information of the students. But I'm going to quickly go into, of course, the courses, the units, and some of your qualification, the credentials, you know, just to quickly highlight. I might do the credential and then go to the courses and units because we're already in a record. Now, with most of the clients, I've seen that you don't use WiseNet to issue your credentials, but it's the easiest way to do it. So if you're not using WiseNet to issue your credentials, please contact us so we can show you how to do it. We can train you in creating those U report templates. It's far better when you do your reporting, because these fields that I'm showing you can be automatically updated. Now, for clients who have run credentials outside the system, if you have generated a certificate for that student, like a full qualification, you have to ensure that that particular record has been updated with the qualification issued flag. So put that tick on and put in a date issued. These are mandatory. Now for 2018, you also need the certificate number, which the government calls it a parchment number. But for 2017, if you haven't done it, don't worry about it. You just need the qualification issued and the date issued. Now for the clients who have only issued statement of attainments, not certificates, then you don't need to update this, okay? It doesn't matter. It's only for full qualifications. For statement of attainment, if required for your record keeping purposes, you may just put in a date issued without putting the tick on for the qualification issued, but that's up to you. But if you have generated credentials from within WiseNet, I'm guessing it would have been updated, because it prompts you when you run a credential to update the qual issued and the date issued. But if you're getting any NAT 130 errors, or if students are missing from it or something of that sort, then it's to do with the qualification issued and the date issued. All right, come back and look for this field against the course enrollment. Now with the courses and units, most of your courses will be imported from training.gov. So you shouldn't get a lot of errors in terms of the VET flag or the field of education or the recognition status or anything of that sort. All this needs to be updated. But I've seen a couple of our clients this year getting errors on the ANSCO code. I'm not sure if you get that error if somebody within your business has changed it or updated it to a different code. But please always, if you get that error, go into training.gov, the National Register of VET, look for that course, scroll down, and you'll find all the codes in here. So whatever is the appropriate code, it has to reflect the same thing, because that's what is reported in your NAT 30. So if you're getting an error on the ANSCO code, look for this code and update it in WiseNet. With these codes, because we've got the list from training.gov, you should just see the entire list of codes there. You just have to pick and choose the appropriate one and update the record. All right, so that's with the NAT 30. I think that's kind of the error that you get usually. With the units, it's a little more complicated, I must say, because there could be units that are, that form part of like different packages. So you could have, let's say, managed meetings against Certificate 4 in business, Diploma business, as well as advanced dip, You may have chosen the same unit and you may be delivering it against multiple qualifications. You can do so, it doesn't matter, but in the system, you can't have a mismatch in the code or the description or at the hours. So it kind of doesn't like it. It comes back with a duplicate unit error. If you do get into a situation like that, always come and search by the code. I'll give you an example. So come into units, search for that code, enter. So it'll pick up both the records. Obviously, as you can see, one's against a 50101 and a 40101 course. You just have to double check if the description matches exactly training.gov. If there's a mismatch between these two, that's when it gives you a duplicate error. Now, sometimes there are complicated issues where somebody is going to manually put in the unit twice. Then you may see the same unit repeated against the same course multiple times. If you get into a situation like that, feel free to log a ticket to us so we can help you. We can check what's happening and I'll let you know how to fix it. All right. The best thing to do is go into learn.wisenet.co and search for duplicate units. So we have an article on duplicate unit error. So it kind of helps you find what's the issue. We also have come up with reports that can help you pick up these duplicate records for your units. So just look at this article and it'll help you how to find the anomalies. Great. All right. So let's move on to the next step. So I'll probably show you, you might have already seen this article. It's the end of the year reporting article. So just go end of year, so it'll pick up the end of your data check article. So what we have done is we've kind of given instructions on how to run exports, how to run some of your checks for your learners, your course enrollments, outcomes, and other things. And we have also listed the exact reports that you can run to check any blank fields and stuff for the learners. That's mainly what you would be running. So 316 is a good report. So with the report numbers, once you have seen it, we've also given you how to filter them. You just have to come into your report section, type in the report number, click into the report, and I usually kind of suggest running it by year so you don't get the entire database of students. So probably run it twice, one for students who started in 17 and for students who ended their course in 17. So you get both continuing students and students who completed in 2017. So I'll quickly just run the report for students who started last year. So the COR stands for Client Offer Registration, which is nothing but the enrollment start and end date for that student. So what this will do is kind of give you the entire list of students with all their personal and demographic information. So you can quickly get it onto a spreadsheet. So you can select the format and get it into an Excel spreadsheet. Or if you're happy working with a spreadsheet format, not like an Excel layout format, you can even, in step number 6, just download the raw data as an Excel. You can even do that. So it's just up to you how you want to work with the data. But it can quickly identify what's missing. If you have postal address missing, or the student's client prior education flag missing, or what's achieved is missing. So you can quickly go back, look at the student's name and update the details for that student. So it's a pretty handy report. And as I said, NAT80 is kind of the biggest client file, and a lot of errors are around that file. So have a look at that. And also it'll be good to check the outcome codes and the start and end dates. We've also given articles on how to bulk update these unit enrollments, just like the way we saw before. So if you have any issues, you can always go back and bulk update it. We do have some data integrity reports for the biggest files, as I said, the 60, 80, 120, and the 130. So you can even run those files. I'll quickly even run a 120 file because that's, again, a big one. With any of data integrity NAT reports, they're all color-coded to make it easier for you. So put in the number, look for the report. Again, we'll do it by students who started last year. So this is a date range. It doesn't mean the student started on 1st of the 1st and ended on the 31/12. It just means the start date of that student falls between the 1st of the 1st and 31/12/2017. So this one's color-coded. Obviously, when you look at the 120, the NAT text file, you wouldn't see the student's first name or the last name or anything. It's always coded with their number in there, and that's what kind of helps you identify the record. So you can quickly see what's missing. The delivery mode is mandatory and that's missing. The funding source is missing. So you can quickly go back, look at that record, and if they're all against the same course software, you can even bulk update the records as I showed you before. And again, it's up to you. You can get it onto an Excel or a PDF, whatever version you're happy to work. All right, so going into the last step, it's about your exports. So go into reports, go to exports, click on Evitmus export, choose national NCVER. You don't have to change the collection year because you are reporting the 2017 data. Go next, choose all the appropriate contracts and click start. If you want the exports to be emailed to you, you can even put in an email address there. If you want to set it up as a default for all your exports, you can even set that as a default email from your profile's My Account and Export Email setting. Click Start, and that will just start the export process. So it'll give you a zip file like this. You just have to download the export files and go into your NCVER login. I don't have a login because we're not an RTO, but this is where you would be going in. Just put in your username and password and upload your files in there to validate. So the submission window opened on the 2nd of Jan, so you can start running your exports and start validating your files. So it closes by 5 p.m. Adelaide time on the 28th of Feb, so you have to submit your reports by then. Okay, so now once you validate your files, you obviously will have some errors, and to help you, find a solution for those errors, we have created an NCVER validation error page. So under the same article, keep scrolling down, and we've given how to fix validation errors, and NCVER is the first one. Click into that article. So we have segregated the article by all the NAT files. So all you have to do is, once you get the error, put in the error code in here in the search. So let's say, for example, you've got an error 4613. So it'll automatically pick up that error, and it'll tell you what you need to do, where to go, and how to fix this. All right. Even after going through this list, looking at how to fix it, if you're not able to understand or find out how to fix the errors, feel free to log a ticket to us. So just from your profile page, click on Log a New Support Ticket. When you're logging a ticket to us, please ensure that you give us the error file as well as the record. So this is what we require for investigating more on how to fix the error and get back to you. So we always would need your error file and the record that's coming up with the error, so we can help you better. All right, that's kind of what I wanted to show you. So I'm going to stay online for some more time to answer any specific questions. Otherwise, thank you so much for your time and attending this webinar today.